we're taking on a genuinely monumental task today. We are going to compress 4.5 billion years of majestic and honestly pretty brutal planetary history into a single, breathtaking 24-hour clock. I want you to imagine all of Earth's existence neatly packed into just one cycle of day and night.
So let's just dive right in with a question that'll completely change how you look at our place in the universe. If the Earth was born at the exact stroke of midnight, at what specific moment during those 24 long hours did humanity finally step onto the stage of history? Keep that question in the back of your mind, because the answer is probably going to send shivers down your spine.
To make this massive timeline work, we have to set a pretty ruthless rule. Every single second that ticks by on our cosmic clock, that represents 52,000 years of actual history. Think about that. For every minute you tap your foot, our planet ages another 3 million years. On an absolute scale like this, whole oceans evaporate and giant, seemingly invincible creatures are wiped out in just a sigh.
All right, the clock starts. It's exactly midnight, 0 hours, 0 minutes. And our morning? Well, it begins as a literal fiery nightmare. There are absolutely no blue oceans or lush green continents to be found anywhere.
Welcome to the Hadean Eon. Honestly, it was a world of pure death that actively rejected anything resembling life. It's named after Hades, the Greek god of the underworld, and for good reason. Earth was a boiling 2,000-degree magma ocean entirely smothered by this crushing toxic atmosphere of sulfur and carbon dioxide that would dissolve literally any living organism in an instant.
But here's where it gets wild. Right at 12:10 a.m., we get this completely apocalyptic planetary collision that ironically saved our climate from eternal chaos. A Mars-sized planet named Theia slammed into Earth with the force of billions of atomic bombs. And from that vaporized rock and debris, our moon was born. Its massive gravity acts like a giant anchor, stabilizing Earth's tilt at 23.5 degrees, and actually making complex life possible down the line. Fast forward a bit. After a literal million-year rainstorm finally cools things down, the absolute greatest chemical miracle in the universe happens quietly in the dark. Right around 4 a.m., all the way down at the bottom of a highly acidic new ocean, hydrothermal vents called black smokers were churning out this mineral-rich soup. In that dark, crushing abyss, atoms bonded together into the very first organic molecules. A spark was lit, and the very first self-replicating, single-celled organism was born.
So we breeze through about 1 billion years of silent, microscopic existence, and suddenly it's 1 p.m. in the afternoon. That's when these tiny organisms called cyanobacteria decide to swim up to the surface and invent photosynthesis. Sounds great, right? Well, it was an invention that almost completely wiped out the entire planet.
Here's the crazy part. Oxygen actually used to be a deadly poison. Life itself caused the very first mass extinction just by polluting the atmosphere with it. Those cyanobacteria pumped billions of tons of oxygen into the ocean. For the anaerobic life living at the time, oxygen was this brutal acid that literally tore through their cell membranes. It completely rusted the iron in the oceans and sparked what we call the Great Oxygenation Event.
And it gets worse. Because of all that toxic oxygen, Earth's warming methane blanket was completely destroyed. Global temperatures absolutely plummeted down to minus 50 degrees Celsius, encasing the entire world in kilometers of solid ice. By 2 p.m., Earth had become Snowball Earth, just a brilliant white, silent, and totally deadly icy prison drifting through the solar system.
Eventually, massive volcanoes melt the ice, setting up what might be the luckiest biological accident ever. A giant cell basically swallowed a smaller one, but system error, the small one didn't die. It lived inside, providing massive amounts of energy. This accidental merger gave birth to mitochondria. That's the biological power plant for every complex organism alive today. It literally paved the way for all animals, plants, and humans. By 8:30 p.m., life in the ocean was like this peaceful, floating garden of Ediacra. Everything was soft, blind, and just quietly absorbing nutrients from the water. But man, just 30 minutes later, the mouth is invented, and that peaceful paradise is turned into a bloody arena. Predation is born, and that eternal peace treaty is shattered forever.
Add the invention of eyes to the mix, and boom, you get the Cambrian explosion. It's a sudden, chaotic biological Big Bang. Suddenly you have these incredible, complex predators like Anomalocera swimming around, armed with sharp spikes and terrifying binocular vision. Creatures are frantically casting armored shells, growing spikes, and developing jointed legs just to survive. Basically, the creature that saw first lived, the one that was blind got eliminated.
Let's skip ahead to 10:30 p.m. Oxygen levels are absolutely surging, hitting a massive 35%. This creates the Carboniferous period. Plants had finally conquered the land, but nothing actually existed yet to decompose massive dead trees. So carbon just piled up and got buried, oxygen spiked, and insects, which breathed directly through their skin, grew into the size of science fiction nightmares. We're talking hawk-sized dragonflies and giant armored millipedes ruling the swamp forests.
But then, right at 10:40 p.m., a horrific domino effect kicks in. We call it the Great Dying. Siberian supervolcanoes basically erupt non-stop for 1 million years. The oceans heat up to a nearly boiling 40 degrees Celsius. The atmosphere turns into this thick soup of ash and sulfuric acid rain, and deadly toxic gas fills the sea. A staggering 96% of all marine species simply vanish without a trace. It nearly reset life on Earth back to absolute zero.
Life always finds a way, right? As we get deeper into the evening, the sheer devastation of the Great Dying actually opens up massive ecological real estate. This sets the perfect stage for the greatest biological empires to ever walk the Earth. The next 160 million years belong to the true kings of our planet, the dinosaurs. Dinosaurs totally dominated the land, sea, and sky. They had absolute mythical authority, entirely unchecked until 11:39 p.m. Just imagine standing on a Jurassic plain. The ground is literally shaking as a herd of 100-ton Argentinosaurs slowly marches by like walking mountains. You look up and pterosaurs the size of F-16 fighter jets are gliding overhead. And out there in the forests, the T-Rex, a 12-meter-long biological machine built for pure violence.
But their reign abruptly ends at exactly 11:39 p.m. because that's when a rock larger than Mount Everest rips through the atmosphere. It's traveling at a terrifying 70,000 kilometers per hour, 60 times faster than the speed of sound, and it slams directly into the shallow waters of the Gulf of Mexico. The impact releases a completely unfathomable 100 million megatons of explosive energy. The mighty T-Rex instantly vaporized. The blast was literally billions of times stronger than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. It ignites the entire atmosphere, rains trillions of superheated glass stones back down to Earth, and wraps the planet in a freezing, lightless, pitch-black shroud of nuclear winter. The result is just staggering. A devastating 99% of all dinosaur species go completely extinct. Without sunlight, the plants wither, the massive herbivores starve, and the mighty carnivores just turn on each other in the cold dark before finally collapsing. A majestic 160 million year empire, completely wiped out by one single stray rock.
But here's what's so fascinating. The real secret to surviving that apocalypse wasn't brute strength at all. It was humility, warm blood, and honestly, motherly love. While the giant tyrants fell, our tiny, shrew-like mammalian ancestors were hiding out in damp burrows. They needed very few calories to survive. Their fur and warm blood generated internal heat, and crucially, they could nourish their young with their own bodies using breast milk in a completely barren world.
Now we are in the final frantic minutes of our 24-hour clock. The climate is drying out, and it forces these tree-dwelling primates down out of the shrinking forest canopy and onto the dangerous African savannas. They are completely exposed in the tall grass, totally surrounded by predators that are way faster and much stronger. By every single rule of evolution, we absolutely should have been wiped out. But instead of dying out, we adapted. Standing upright on two legs kicked off this absolute magic chain reaction. It transformed us from the weakest prey on the savanna into the rulers of the entire planet. We freed our hands, we invented tools, and we started cooking meat with fire. That unlocked a massive surplus of calories that went straight into fueling an explosion in our brain size and intelligence. So, remember that question we asked at the very beginning? Well, it takes exactly 0.1 seconds on our cosmic clock for humanity to build the pyramids, fight world wars, invent the internet, and launch spacecraft into the void. Think about that. Every piece of human history you've ever learned about, the pharaohs, the Roman Empire, the moon landing, this exact moment right now, all of it fits into less than the final 1/10 of a second of our cosmic day. And that leaves us with a pretty haunting final thought to end this explainer. In literally the blink of a cosmic eye, we have become a man-made asteroid ourselves. Our future depends entirely on what we choose to do right now. We are a true force of nature, altering the atmosphere and the oceans faster than almost anything in the past 24 hours.
A brand new day is about to begin. The real question is, will we be here to see it?